Hello, everybody. As you can tell, I'm not Paul. I'm Ashwin. Paul's away at an event, so I'm filling in for him. And this is Driving Maul. And joining me today is the one and only Steve. How you doing, Steve?
Oh, not too bad. And once again, privilege and a pleasure. And we're doing it from your place.
Yeah.
Which is even better. Not
different scenery.
We don't stay from too far from each other, but it's actually good to catch up and connect. I'll get it out shortly.
Yeah. I'm lying down on a couch because I've got prolapsed disc. So if I'm rolling around in agony at any stage, you know, that's what's going on. I'll leave it to Steve while I roll around. Look, great. Look, things will be a bit different. Haven't got all the technology that Paul normally has on his Mac. I'm only going from a Windows appliance. So we'll try my best to answer a few questions up in the chat room. If you don't see me looking at you, that's because I'm looking at the screen to see what's happening in the chat room, and Steve will be talking. So, anywho, we'll roll on with the show. And actually, as we roll on with the show, what we've got coming up soon is our Mickey Mouse moment of the week. So, if you've got a Mickey Mouse moment of it, chuck it in the chat room. I'll have a look at screen down, and we'll bring it up as we get to that segment and talk about that.
We actually have got a couple.
We've got a couple.
They may differ to what you've actually got. I can just see a couple of people have already joined us. Good to see Christopher up there, Simon, and I think maybe Paul might even tune in.
That's me.
That is you tuning.
That's me, it's Paul.
That'd be weird. That'd be weird. He'd be checking on us.
He'd be driving and typing, which would be not good. Don't type and drive.
No, not good. Not good.
Anywho, so going on to our first topic, I've actually printed it out and it's over there by Steve. So what do we got there, Steve?
Well, tonight we're looking at the first topic. First topic we're looking at is the laws of the game. Now, Wales Online apparently have brought a brief out that's stipulating 8 new law changes, but we're going to focus on not all 8 of them, but 3 of them. Now, you may have read that brief because it is online, but we're going to go over 3 of them tonight. And the first one we're going to hit, Ashwin, which is on that piece of paper over there, is a rule which is sort of taken from the other oval board game, Rugby League, which is the 40-20 rule. Just really, it's a bit weird to me, and the reasoning behind that, Ashwin?
Look, basically, so they're going to change from the 40-20 to the 50-22. So from the halfway to the 22, if you kick from outside the 50, lands on the 22 and rolls out, then basically the team that kicked the ball will get the throw into the line out as well.
Yeah.
Now, the reasoning behind that is because that means that your defensive wingers have to drop back to cover that kick, which means that now the defensive line has to spread across the field. So supposedly you're going to get a spreading out of the defense. I don't believe that it will happen because I actually believe that some of the teams actually go with a game plan defensively of having, well, obviously the fullbacks back, and most of the time they've got one of the wingers back as well because they play a dual fullback type scenario. So and then at times, if they know that they're going to be playing a team that's kicking a lot, they're going to have 3 back, and they have already got 13. So it's already happening in that sense and defensively. So I don't believe that it's going to introduce anything new, and it's going to be detrimental to the game because all it's going to mean is that, hey, it's like receiving a penalty which you kick into the corners. What do they do from a penalty you kick into the corners, Steve?
Yeah.
You do a driving maul.
Yeah, driving maul.
And we all love watching driving mauls.
Yeah.
Especially the show.
And you know, it's going to suit the team that's got a player up this one with a real big boot, maybe the more static guy who doesn't run at the line.
Yeah.
It is concerning to me. Like I see, I can kind of understand it, but you know, you look at the round of especially Super Rugby the weekend, and we saw some great tries. And that is the beauty, with the greatest respect to our league neighbours. That's the beauty of rugby union compared to league, is it's unpredictable.
It's unpredictable. Exactly. I mean, and when you look at it, I mean, you look at the Canes Stormers contest. At the end of the day, the Stormers actually didn't bring anything to that game other than a rolling maul. And if they hadn't have stuffed up, if they hadn't lost the plot in that last 5 minutes, the rolling maul would have won in the game. But that's all they had.
Yeah, I suppose exactly. And every team will basically want to bring something different, and we don't want to clone all the teams to play the same sort of footy. I mean, so that's why over the years we've had Argentina who play a tough forward-orientated game. You know, some teams from the Northern Hemisphere. It's up to the other teams how you break those teams down.
Yeah, absolutely. But as you say, look, I mean, you can absolutely see the fact that if you if we go into a situation of 50-22, most teams are going to start developing the plan where you're going to kick to look to achieve that and then do a driving maul from that. Obviously, the Blues won't because we can't seem to get a driving maul going, but that's another story.
Just an interesting comment has popped up there from Thomas English. Good stuff, guys. Couple of things. One, that the style kick is already common in this code, and in rugby league, it's sort of like a novelty. So, yeah, it's very interesting. I know in rugby league, basically, when I talk about predictability, you get your X amount of plays. Usually, they only have 2 plays at the end of their sets, and usually it's a high contestable kick or a second or a crossfield second man play. And if they run out of space, they just somebody just kicks it usually anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think you're looking at if they introduce that law, you're looking at bringing in something that's going to mean that a lot of teams are going to be playing very similar rugby. It's just going to happen. I'll give you an example. Good example. A couple of years ago, we trialed an NPC level around the ruck, and I can't remember the specific law, but what it meant that you got rid of the fetcher and you brought on a number 8 as a number 7. And what you saw is like Auckland had a Kiriwani on his in the 7 jersey on the side of the scrum. I can't remember what it was, but all the teams did it because of the rule and the way that it's set up. Doing something like this is going to do that. Yeah,
I know what you were talking about. The first, it really penalised the first guy that was getting to the breakdown.
Yes, it did.
It was absolutely crazy. And to contest the ball, there had to be some sort of ruck there, if I recall.
Oh, there was something weird. There was something weird. And basically, effectively, you just wanted a big guy rather than a guy that was quick around the field that could get to a breakdown and try and jackal the ball. Yeah.
Listen, I just think instead of bringing out 8 rules, how about maybe just one little simple rule that makes it easier for the players and the viewers? Sometimes you look at the rule. One that bugs me is the accidental offside. To me, if a player runs into his own player, but it doesn't really affect the game. It doesn't affect the player. It's a case of carry on, even though it's accidental.
Look, and as I said, I think rather than wholesale big changes, and we've got a couple more to go on to, but rather than the big changes, it really should be about tweaking the small things. Again, you talked about the accidental offside. Absolute joke. We double it. The offside law. Clean up the offside law so that it's easy to ref, adjudicate on. Get them back. Get those hands, limbs, everything back. That's what you need to do. And then monitor that line. Let's face it, most of the time, as someone watching your team, let's say, and you'll see the opposition always offside because they are. But and what I mean by that is that when you're watching your team, you will see the other team offside because they generally they are. So I tidy that up.
I think we've got a comment up there from Christopher Edwards Bailey. He wants to see the rule. He wants to judge. You obviously see it before we judge it, and you make a fair point there. I do wonder though where these are actually driven from. Are they being driven from the players?
Driven from France. So there's been some work being done in France, and this is where I believe they are being trialled. The other 2 laws that we'll go through as well. They're being trialled in some games in France. I'm not sure at what level, but I believe that's what's happening.
I suppose the one thing they will probably just trial this in one country before they maybe decide, hey, we'll run with this. Well, if this is working,
it's like that law we just talked about at NPC level. I think Stellenbosch did it because they seem to be a sort of a research type scenario. But I believe that the rule we were talking around the breakdown that they only trialed in NPC over here. And then they went away from it.
I think we talk about the breakdown, and that speaks for itself at the moment. You're on the ground, you're out of the game. You can't play the ball on the ground. So that's, to me, when I'm watching the game, it makes a sense to me. There are some times where I see a player on the ground and he's been tackled and he's actually placing it back on the ground. That, to me, that's weird.
Again, I think it's one thing we mentioned. It's about tidying up the laws that we have. The number of times you're supposed to, is if someone turning up to the breakdown trying to jackal the ball, you have to support your own body weight. I'd say at least 80%. I'm gonna go out on a limb. 80% of the time, the guy that gets to the breakdown is not supporting his own body weight. So things like that. Tidy that up. David Pocock, I think we agree. Most of us agree that he'd be the best jackler of the ball. In rugby, and even when I've watched him, when you watch him closely, I'd say at least 50% of the time for him, there's a hand or something that will go down on the ground, which means he's not supporting his own body weight. He's not allowed to go past the player, put your hands on the
ground. Which we got on. Sorry, but
we can digress.
We actually got on to we did digress, and we got on to sort of current rules that we think that need to tweak. But what's the second one?
One in the tackle. One person in the tackle. Just can't see it. I mean, I suppose at the moment for us, we can't envisage it. We can't see it. The classic ones close to the line. When you tie it in with the next law that we're going to talk about, you can't see how an individual would stop one person one-on-one from stop scoring a try. It's just going to be near impossible.
Oh, listen, you've got it. There's situations if you've got a big ball carrier, you need two guys. Sometimes in the case of
three,
you need three. The stronger the guy. And once again, I believe you're giving even more license to the team that's actually got the ball in hand, because I think a lot of the
competition's going away.
Yeah, the competition's going away. A lot of the rules actually suit the bigger guys at the moment. What if you're close to the line and there's a big guy? Well, you might as well just give him a green light. You score the try, because I'm not going to be able to tackle.
Yeah,
sometimes you need two or three guys to stop somebody. Yeah.
And then, as I said, the third one that we were going to bring up out of the 8 that we believe that there's there. That they're looking at introducing is tackling below the waist, so basically shorts and below. So you tie that one in with the only one in the tackle, you don't stop the person scoring. Even if they're two people of the same size, the guy that's got the ball is just going to reach over the top and plant the ball easy.
Oh, absolutely. There are times you've actually got to go in and tackle the high. I mean, so I like that players are actually going in at least to try and strip the ball, because sometimes that's the only way you can take the ball. If you've got that guy who's the next guy in, who's the cleaner, they usually stick right behind the carrier. There's no chance of the guy that's pilfering trying to get to the ball.
No, that's right, absolutely. Now, I know that there is Simon Hughes has just raised about the kicking rule in rapid rugby. I know that there is a separate rule. I can't remember what the details of it are. Can you remember what that is?
No, absolutely no.
Simon, if you want to type in there, just refresh our memories on the details around that kicking rule in rapid rugby. We'll have a chat about that. So so look, for our mind, I mean, I think Christopher's on the money, I suppose, in a sense. You really do have to see them, but I suppose being the cynical old codgers that we are, and we sit there and we sort of think, how's that going to work? We can't really visualize it and how it's going to work. Yeah. It'd be good to see some of that. As I said, I believe it's being trialed in France. So it'd be good to see whether we get some footage and we can see how it's actually working out, whether it is working out, or whether the fears that we have are actually coming to fruition.
Obviously, they're obviously concerned about the HIA or the head contact and have you. But you know what? Even if you go in and make a light tackle, you can get your head in the wrong place. You can still get knocked out.
Oh, we've had this conversation quite a few times before, isn't it? I mean, like the reality is that when we talk about head-eye tackles and that, a lot of the concussion is actually coming out from knees hitting the head, knee on head, and it's just like, well, if you're getting the player to go down lower in the tackle, he's getting in there with the knees and the like, and then then we have to look at the running styles of some guys who run with high knees. So I think
that's right. You can't rugby. You can't kick directly to touch. So you're basically, I think is that from inside your 22, or is that
basically so from outside your 22 you can't kick directly for touch anyway, right?
Yeah.
So obviously now the inside the 22 you can't kick directly to touch either.
Yeah, I know there was. I think there was a game played under those rules on the weekend between the Western Force and a World 15, but unfortunately it started sort of rather late.
It was midnight kickoff for New Zealand time for us New Zealand viewers. So I was about 11:30 and I thought, no, I'm not going to make it.
Interesting. I'll tell you what, I just put it out there. Be interesting to sort of get any rules. I'm sorry about my phone dinging. It'd be interesting to see if there's any other tweaks that, you know, to our viewers or listeners who are listening and viewing in would like to see in rugby. If there's something that maybe in the rugby rules that they should tweak that would make the game much more enjoyable.
Drop it into the old chat room box view thingy, and if we see it pop up, we'll have a discussion about that. So I suppose we've knocked off those three rather quickly, because I think unfortunately we're on the same page, so we can't have an argument about it, can we?
No, not really. Not really.
But as alluded to before, Christopher raises a good point. Let's see how they come out in the trial games, and then we'll put them to pieces. Yeah. Okay.
Sounds good.
Well, I'll tell you what. Should we? I don't know. Well, before we lose all the some of the Mickey Mouse moments that have popped up there, we might jump into that one, shall we? Yeah. So we'll go with some of the ones that have been mentioned in the old chat room. Alex mentioning the old dropsies from the Crusaders over the weekend. I think you could probably say from both teams in that game, though. Yeah, the Crusaders were affected quite a bit more. Very Crusaders like, you know, the classic one was actually Braden Eno passing to the judge. When's the last one we saw?
I think that's probably one of them.
That'd be a good bit, because it's like he even looks back and Ryan Crotty's he's going back to Ryan Crotty. What were you, sort of thing? I think. And
you were the winger, so I don't think there was anybody outside of you. The touch judge didn't even catch it.
I think. Well, I thought if the touch judge had caught it, he's gone. There's nobody in front of him.
Actually, that is a good Mickey Mouse moment of the week. Just interesting. I think I might have seen in the chat there. Sansa came up, and I totally agree with that.
That was Steve's one before we started the show. We were talking about it. So
Sansa going back to a 14-team round robin competition. Gee, that's a novel idea. That might even work.
Well, I think what they did is they got up. They gave Marty a call and got into the DeLorean and went back in time and saw what was working and decided that'll do. So Sansa. Look, I mean, we've just talked about the going back to Super 14 round robin. Yeah. The handling of the Sunwolves. That's pretty Mickey Mouse too at the end of the day, isn't it? Oh. I mean, look, I think when you look at it, the Japanese don't want to do it. The South Africans don't want to fly there. Logical. Hey, look, it's not working. Get that, but the way it was handled was
I suspect that one theory I have heard is a little bit of politicking as well, because I don't think Japan may have voted for South Africa.
No, they voted for France.
They voted for France. So I'm just putting it out there. I'm, not a conspiracy theorist, but you kind of do wonder.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've sort of cut our lunch. We're going to cut
yours. Yeah,
we are going to cut your lunch.
So you're going down conspiracy theories. So what do you think happened in the tunnel?
In the tunnel,
Princess Diamond. Come on.
I think we all know that. Driver had too many Vinos. Run too fast. It was just a simple case of DIC, unfortunately.
Why did Christopher hit with Bailey? Good
Did we go to the moon?
Did we go to the moon?
Yep.
No. Why did Super Rugby expand to 14 in the first place? Well, there's only one answer to that. Show me the money. Under the disguise of a global expansion.
Yeah. Broadcasters look for content.
Yeah.
And to have content, the more you can show, the more money your sport will get. The problem with that, and we said this from day dot, from the time they expanded it, you expand it, what sort of quality is it going to be?
Yeah.
And
that's what happened.
There's been so much damage done to this competition since Super 12. Super 12 was fantastic. We looked forward to it every year. It was easy to understand. It was round robin. What was there? A top 4, top 5?
Top 4, I think, in the Super 12.
Top 4 originally. Easy, straightforward. We all knew the teams were beatable. Australian teams were strong at the time. Yep. South African teams were hard to beat in South Africa. If you got a good one, if you won in South Africa, man, that was a good.
Absolutely.
That was a big thing. Now we've got New Zealand teams that fly over there, like the Chiefs, and they put 55 on the Bulls. On the Bulls. So you just shake their head. Sansa have got a take a good look at themselves. And I tell you what, Andy Marinos must look at himself in the mirror every night and think, man, I'm the luckiest man alive, because under any other company, he'd be Gonski.
Absolutely. Look, so again with Christopher saying, you lose the Force, the Cheetahs, now we lose the Sunwolves. We've got the Hagiwaris. I think Hagiwaris add a bit. I think they do add a bit to the competition.
Who knows? In 2 years' time, it'll be back to Super 12 because they'll cut 2 more. I think they do. I mean, to say that I suppose the trip up to Tokyo is an awkward sort of trip, but there's still a lot of travel for these teams. But you know what? The travel has been there since they got. I know from a South African piece, speaking to a few friends, they think it's tough on them because they have to travel for 3 weeks. But I think sometimes teams, when they're away, they actually bond a lot better.
But that's always been the concept, isn't it? Is the fact is that teams seem to, it's a great time for the teams to come together to actually come together, to be one, to become brothers in arms, sort of thing. That's where your team bonding happens. Obviously, team bonding's a little bit different from our day. Team bonding in our day was you go into a room, you shut the doors, and you drink yourself silly. These days, you get in trouble if you do that sort of thing. I think it's a great opportunity to do your bonding. You've got 4 weeks in New Zealand, or New Zealand, Australia. They usually have a trip down to Queenstown, where they go do the old bungee jet boat, all that sort of stuff. Again, that's great stuff for the team, surely, and for New Zealand teams going on. I know the classics, obviously, going over to the old wildlife parks and the like. So see a few wild lions before you tame the ones on the paddock.
Oh, absolutely. You don't hear about those stories anymore, do we?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, obviously we've beaten up on Sanzo, but I do like the concept of second division. I do like that. So they're looking at, with Rapid Rugby and our Andrew Forrest friend, I believe, is to use some of the teams that he's got as part of Rapid Rugby, Japan, Pacific Island teams, and possibly out of USA, and getting a second tier
just a question, which rules will they play under? Rapid rules?
Oh, look, absolutely. That'll be something. But, in terms of still getting those things and getting some teams out of the Pacific. I mean, we've talked about the success, I think, of the Drua. I think I've said that right. Out of the NRC. They are a team that's performing really well. They have a few hiccups when they lose a few international players. But other than that, they seem to be pretty dominant. When you look at, I just noticed there's a Pacific tournament going on recently. Fiji, Samoa, Tonga, and I think it was the Japanese under-20 side, I think. But, and you look at the Fiji team is dominant in that tournament. And that's the second. That's not their internationals. Most of the internationals playing in Europe, right? So so I think there is that opportunity. I mean, I had a chat with Paul and saying, look, there's opportunities for some NPC teams to get in there. Now, I'd like to see Auckland playing there before the NPC, before Mitre 10 starts. You've got those players that come in, sort of thing. And
just a comment there from Alex Lovell. Cutting the Sunwolves removes a massive burden on the South African players.
Yeah, well, it comes back to that travel factor, I think. That's the thing. So, obviously, not having looked at a globe, but the travel to Japan is obviously worse than the travel to New Zealand. I'm guessing, obviously, without the longitudinal lines to be 100% correct, you're going around like that is shorter than going like that, because Japan and New Zealand's close enough to being in the same latitudinal lines. So, or the east coast of Australia, sort of thing. So if you're going on a diagonal up there, it's definitely going to be longer than coming over to Australia, New Zealand.
Very much
so I can understand it, but I think even though you had the travel burden, I still think the key thing was the political one around the fact that Japan voted for France for the World Cup hosting rights.
There's skullduggery going on.
So look, on Mickey Mouse moments, my Mickey Mouse moments, bit more serious, in the fact that mine's a procedural error for my mind by the TMO, and it's coming out of the Blues game against the Highlanders, where the on-field decision was try, and the TMO said, "Oh, it's a forward pass," and he only looked at the one angle, one replay very quickly and made a quick decision that it's a forward. I don't think it was clear and obvious that that was a forward pass from the angle that he looked at, because the ball is blocked by the player, so you can't actually see the ball. All you can see is the arm, and the arm's going backwards.
We actually, I did say during the time that Ben Skeen, who seems to be the professional TMO in New Zealand, who hasn't quite got to top official level, or he's not one of the top officials in New Zealand, has all of a sudden become one of the go-to guys when it comes to TMO. So I described him as the George Ayub of TMOs.
Yeah,
but I was a little or rather surprised that he didn't really have a second look. He pretty much made up his mind straight away. And to quote what the referee should have said, was that clear and obvious?
Was it clear? And the other thing is that, because the on-field decision was it's a try. So if the on-field decision is a try, what we as fans have been effectively led to believe is that you have to have clear and obvious reason to overturn the on-field decision. Yeah. If the referee on the field wasn't sure, he should have said, "Hey, look, I'm not sure, so can you just tell me try or no try?" In which case, then it's totally up to TMO. But, so there's a couple of factors. The fact is that the on-field decisions are try, and you need clear and obvious. And then the fact is that the angle that he looked at told him nothing, because there's players blocking what's happening to the ball, and the only thing you see is an arm going backwards, and he's made a call that the ball's gone forward. So, yeah, that was my Mickey Mouse moment of the week. I said it was a bit more of a serious one rather than a amusing one. But, yes. So, rolling into... I'm
going to say, just on the Mickey Mouse moment.
They carry on.
The Braden Reynolds pass to them. That is a good one.
That's a great one.
If you were picking out of the three or four,
a true Mickey Mouse moment.
A true Mickey Mouse moment. You'd have to give on the field.
Yeah. You
would have to give that one.
Yeah. Look, so our Mickey Mouse moment of the week goes to Braden Reynolds. Here we go. There we go. So unfortunately, Braden couldn't be here with us tonight. So I'm going to accept that award on his behalf.
On behalf of the Driving
Maul. Driving Maul will accept it on behalf of him, and we'll make sure that it gets through to him. Yeah. and maybe a drink for Ryan Crotty as well for not being the winger that he wasn't supposed to be. Yeah. No, that nicely with obviously a lot of discussion around administration leads us nicely into 1A rugby in Auckland. And today there was some news come out. They had a review. They had what was, I suppose, supposed to be an independent review of goings on with trading of players, let's call it. What would you call it? We're trading of players, effectively, buying in of players.
High-profile people on the committee. I think former Black Ian Jones was involved. A couple of other local identities that don't come to mind
at the moment.
At the minute, but I think basically what was put out there, they pretty much had to change their ways, I suppose, or none of these other schools would be playing them.
Yeah. So basically, just to wind it back to last year or earlier this year or last year, is that the number of the top schools in Auckland basically said, we're not going to play against St. Kentigern's College because they're just basically buying in cattle to stack their team. So they're going around buying first 15 players from other schools around New Zealand, not Auckland, but New Zealand, and getting them in there in the final year at school even, and so stacking their team to win the tournament. So that's sort of, as I said, the schools come and said, we're not playing St. Kentigern's. That's outside the rules of agreement amongst the schools. So they had an independent review, which got released today. And what the review found is that St. Kentigern's actually did not act outside the rules that were signed up to by all the schools. There was nothing that they'd done illegal, for want of a term. However, in saying that, definitely was unethical and goes against sort of like the morals of the situation in terms of buying in players, stacking your team to win trophies type scenario. So everybody was happy with the report. The schools have all sort of had hugs and got back together around the table, and they've come up with a new set of rules.
Originally, there were 10 schools that were going to basically boycott them. Now, what they pretty much got St Kentigern to do was sign a code of conduct.
Yes.
And that pretty much means, what was bugging them more than anything else? Theoretically, not a lot that was St Kentigern was doing was wrong. They were doing nothing wrong. But I think it was, once again, we talk about ethics, and there's a lot of ethics going on in sport at the moment, if we especially talk about cricket, but we won't talk cricket tonight. But, they have, the good thing about it, they have signed the code of conduct. Yes. Initially, they didn't quite agree with what was on the table, but I think the committee and the other schools just pretty much went hardline them and said, well, listen, we'll just, whenever we play you guys, we'll just default.
Yeah, that's right. So the rules that they've sort of basically agreed upon is that any of those players that have been transferred recently won't be able to play for the first 6 rounds of the competition. And they won't be able to take part in the semi-finals and finals should St Kentigern's or make it to that far. So that's good in terms of an agreement being reached. There is a collateral damage in this, and that's the kids. That's those kids that they've signed up. But for 6 rounds, they're not playing any rugby. St Kentigern's making the final, they can't play. And if you're in your final year of rugby, it's like playing an NPC, and it's just like you want the people to see you so you can get that higher contract. You're in your final year at school, you want some scouts to see you so they'll sign you up to a team, don't you? And if you're not playing, who's going to see you?
Very much so. I think because what's happened at St Ken's, I think you'll probably find, because all the publicity, I think you'll probably find a lot of parents, even though they might have a talented son who's playing for Napier boys, Hastings boys, I think they might take a chance of staying within their own school. But that's
the concept, isn't it?
Let's not come down on St Ken's. They are not we've been pretty naive to think that they're the only school doing this.
Oh, look, and I remember when we first discussed this, there were some of our South African followers who mentioned the fact that that's not exactly the exact going-ons, but very similar sorts of goings-on there. Obviously, they've had issues with steroids uses, and it's quite big over there as well. So, there's issues in schoolboy rugby that are across the board, and this is just one of them. When you talk about, let's not come down hard on St Ken's, absolutely. All they did was they took what everybody in Auckland 1A competition was doing and took it a bit further. They went outside of Auckland, whereas the other schools were just doing it within Auckland type scenario. So although they did have rules that you can't take a player out of first 15, I believe.
Honestly, if you look at the other side of it, if you had a promising son and you were in a rural area and the opportunity arose, your school didn't have a rugby academy or program, or indeed in some cases there are schools that haven't even got first 15s for crying out loud.
What I think they should do, I was thinking about this today, is that, like, you're right. I mean, like, look, it's when you look at, say, someone like St Ken's picking up a kid from rural New Zealand, right? It's not just the fact that that kid's getting picked up to play in a good first 15 team. He's going to a top grade school. The educational facility which St Kentigern's is university level in terms of the infrastructure.
Well, interesting. It's having an effect even at a rural area. So, for example, you've got Whangarei boys who has joined the North Harbour Secondary Schools competition. A lot of boys from Kamo High School have decided to go to Whangarei boys.
Right.
Because the higher level of first 15. Now, has Kamo boys got a first 15 as well?
Oh,
no,
really?
No, they haven't.
And they used to be quite. They
were quite a solid college school. Ian Jones.
So what my thoughts on this is the fact is that I don't know if they do it in high school in America, but I know that something that's apparently in the university level in America is the fact is that you actually have to have a grade level at a certain level to be able to play in the team. I don't know whether it's just from the movies that you see it, whether it's real. I
think it is. I suspect it is.
Yeah. But I think that's what should be brought into high school here. Is that means, because let's face it, how many kids are going to make it in top level rugby? A small percentage of all the high school kids trying to make it, right? So why don't we take that opportunity? Yeah, hey, look, you've got an opportunity to play first 15 rugby, but to play in this team, you also have your grade average has to be up there as well. And I think it's a good motivation. You want to play in the team? get your results up. Yeah, this is like looking again. Looking at some of the comments coming through in the odd chat room. It's just like, yeah, it's a problem globally, isn't it? Yeah.
It does happen. But if you want a good strong competition, but it's never been a prerequisite for St. Kitts winning the competition.
What do you mean?
They don't win all the time.
No, they don't. No, they don't. In fact, they got tipped over last year by St. Peter's.
St. Peter's, yeah.
Was St. Kitts in the final against them?
No, I don't think it was. I think it was Kings.
Right.
Kings, but St. Peter's upset St. Kentigern.
Right. Okay.
If I recall.
Yeah. So yeah, no, he is it. So at the end of the day, St. Peter's won it last year. When you look at the stat, you get them playing the 1A competition when they have won it, and they've gone to the national secondary schools tournament. They haven't exactly cleaned up there. Yeah. So yeah,
not a prerequisite, but
exactly. This is like Pierce's comment. This is like the 2001 first 15 from St. Kitts. John R. Fowler, Jerome Kaino. There's a few that won't come to my mind, but there was a few of them all at St. Kitts. And John R. Fowler was Otahu. I think he was actually.
I think Jerome Kaino was Wesley, wasn't he? Somewhere down that way.
So Pierce is right. It's been going on at St. Kitts for a while there.
Not just then, but you think of the good boys who played both for Mags. As well. And I'll tell you what, I know. Having commentated Northland, there was a time there they had something upwards of 12 ex-Mags players.
Well, I was going to say Sam Knock was another one.
Sam Knock, St.
Kitts. Yeah. Oh no, Mags. Sam Knock was Mag.
Yeah, St. Kitts.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, whoops, my bad.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
No, St. Kitts.
Right. Oh well, yeah.
But I'm saying that he might have been Mags before he was St. Kitts. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Right. Well, rolling into a few items that have come out of Super Rugby, and we've alluded to this a little bit with the Sansa being in the old Mickey Mouse category, is the old Sunwolves. So we've sort of covered it off. It is a shame, I suppose, looking outside of the whys and everything for the Sunwolves. When you look at them, how they were travelling this year, they haven't been blown away in any game. No. They've tipped up the Chiefs at home. So when I say at home, Chiefs home, not their home. I think since they've tipped up the Chiefs, I think you'd have to say some of the results have been a little bit disappointing because we expected a bit more out of them because of the fact that they tipped up the Chiefs. But again, they haven't been embarrassed in any of the games this year, really.
To be fair, I don't think the Chiefs were on cue. I think the Sunwolves will probably kick themselves. You look at ironically, the two leading Australian teams, the Waratahs and the Reds.
Yep.
They probably should have won.
Should have won both of those.
They probably should have won both of those games. Just probably. In both cases, just a little bit of a lack of concentration. They are showing some improvement, which is really the downside. And the crazy thing about it, I think first 5-6 rounds, they've actually done it without their Japanese player, and of course their skipper Michael Leach as well, who's not just inspirational for Sunwolves, but also the Japanese team as well. I do feel for them because the other thing, unlike the Kings who were part of this competition, and I remember you'd switch on those images down in Port Elizabeth and look at that big, beautiful stadium there, and all you could see is empty seats.
Parents turned up to watch their boys play.
Yeah, exactly. So when they were culled, it kind of didn't surprise me because it wasn't really attracting a base there, and aesthetically it didn't look good. But these Sunwolves supporters, they're good value.
Sunwolves supporters are good value. I think it's one of the mistakes, and I think this was to reduce the travel time for the South African teams, is some of the games being held in Singapore. If you saw that game that they played on the weekend in Singapore, it was like watching a Kings game because it was a man and dog there. So that's a mistake. As long as they played their games back in Japan, they're not selling out the stadium, and somebody did make a point. When you got 25 million people in the city, and if rugby's as popular in Japan as they say, you should be able to fill that stadium. In saying that, look, getting 10, 15,000, even 20,000, you can get it stretched out to 20,000. Not a bad crowd that you sort of say, oh, yep, that's all right, sort of thing for a start anyway. Especially when you look at the Sunwolves have picked up the odd win in their first couple of first seasons. this season they've been looking much better, and it's a team that you could go and build some support around.
Well, they're not getting pumped. Yep. You know, there were times they were getting well beaten. I can even think it may have been against the Lions a few seasons ago. I think the Lions scored close to 90-odd points if I recall. You know, you look at that game on the weekend. I think they were only down 10-7 at halftime, something like that, and they were in the contest.
Yeah, for some reason, look, I mean, it's weird. Their forward pack's been weird. At times, their forward pack is competitive, and then all of a sudden, they seem to just switch off and they get smacked up front. Yeah. And that sort of like happened a bit on the weekend. They often get accused of having a whole lot of foreigners, off-cuts, guys who are not quite up to Super Rugby level. But man alive, there's several guys in this side that I'll tell you what, I'd be quite happy to fill gaps in some of the super sides back here. Well, we've been talking about it since effectively now the demise of Sunwolves. We've been saying, who do we want? And I think the first one we sort of said is Malt's little son.
Oh, yeah, we're going to Michael Little. You know, especially we're going to be we're going to go on a little bit of a bias rant here. I mean, we're obviously all about the Blues. We live in Auckland. We were just thinking,
sorry, people.
You know, because it's more than likely we're not going to see either Manonu or SBW
next year
with the Blues next year. So there'll be midfield positions to fill.
Yep.
So yeah, why not? He's played for the Blues before. I mean, it's a real black mark against the previous management and administration recruitment, although he might be still there, the recruitment guy, which is just crazy. You also think of maybe somebody like Hayden Parker's got a phenomenal kicking success.
He's very, you look at, he's very Simon Culhane, Tony Brown, and the fact that he just not flashy, but he does the right. His execution rate is good, and he takes the right options. Yeah, I mean, you think of a Tony Brown, he was never going to carve up, but he did the right thing. He put the ball in the right parts of the field, and he got the team going in the right direction. Yeah. So he's very much like that. I think he brings a little bit more than that as well. But he does those he executes very well.
Oh, very, very good footballer. The other player that I've actually liked the look of is actually, and I must admit, I wasn't ever sure if he was up to this level of rugby, but he is a former New Zealand age group player, and that's Jamie Booth, the halfback. It looks quite lively.
How about the pace on him, though?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, very, very tidy footballer, and they've got
because the reason why is that I was at the game, the Blues Sunwolves game at Albany Stadium, which is on the North Shore of Auckland for our international watchers and listeners, and he smoked the back line. He's got some wheels, Jamie Booth. So absolutely. Alex in the old chat room mentioning Hayden Parker for the Blues. Yeah, we were trying to make it not sound too obvious and biased. Is that we sort of think, the Blues looking at Hayden Parker would not be a bad option. We think that would give them the opportunity to actually put Harry Plummer at 12. And when you look at some of the best first fives that we have had, they actually learnt their trade at 12 before moving in. And obviously the most obvious one is one D. Carter, who even for the All Blacks played at 12 before he got shifted into 10. So I sort of think when we look at Harry Plummer, I think he's showing really more than promise. I think he'll get there, but he's still learning the trade.
I do like Alex's thinking in and around Hayden Parker. The only problem is he has very strong Otago ties.
He does.
As well, so it would not surprise me if you look at their roster at the minute. They're investing in young Josh Ioane. They've got the long in the tooth Marty Banks who'll win you games.
Brendan Gatlin hasn't seen the day of light.
Brendan Gatlin, well, that move worked.
Light of day.
That move is not
worked for him at all.
Not worked for him at all. So you look at the Hayden Parker, he will win you games just with his.
Look, I think when you talk about that connection for Hayden Parker back to the Highlanders, it's going to be, for anybody else to pick him up, I reckon it's going to be hard. When you look at that game, the Blues Highlanders game from the weekend, as well as Marty Banks played and is the range that he gets with his boot, they're missing something at first five. Josh Ioane is a fantastic first five, but he's like Harry Plummer, he's still learning his trade. And so if they can get Hayden Parker back there, it gives them time to build Josh Ioane up, learn the trade, and they've got someone who's that's there and work happening already straight away.
There's one other player that's really impressed me as well in this, and he's he's actually South African, so you never know where he might get picked up, is Van der Heever, the right winger. He is looked. He's looked sensational.
He has.
So he's another good footballer, and
he's got some good wheels on him as well. You know, these days you can get a big, heavy winger, and he's not exactly top end speed for a winger sort of thing, but he's got some wheels on him.
And the other kid finally that's impressed me, and it's not as if this kid's an older player, but Gunther, who's from I think he's from the Brisbane, Queensland area. He's a big, rangy loose forward as well, and he puts himself about a bit. So there are some genuinely good footballers who I think who can pick up contracts in Super Rugby, whether he probably returns to Australia. There's no reason why he shouldn't get picked up by an Australian franchise.
Yeah. Look, Paul's going to do some more of this on his Patreon channel, for want of a term. So look out for that if you're a Patreon subscriber. If not, sign up for $1 a week or whatever it is, a month or whatever it is, and a little Paul eats. But he'll be coming out with on Wednesday with his view on the situation and the scenario with the Sunwolves. Just going on, obviously we've alluded to this one as well. Super Rugby returning to round robin format. Now, I don't know if there's much to be said about that, tell you the truth. It's a no-brainer. It's something that worked. It worked even better when it was Super 12. I don't think we're going to get quite back to Super 12, but Super 14 is a good start.
It's just frustrated that they went down a path that I think a lot of people could see that it was awkward. It was hard to follow. This is pretty much straightforward. I think it'll also benefit probably a lot of the New Zealand franchises that don't play each other in return matches and bash the heck out of each other. And you know, I think it just creates more interest.
Look, one of the reasons why they went to the conference system and the home and away for the inside the conference is because it was seen as people like, you know, the locals wanted to see the derby games. Is this going to have a bit of an impact on that? Because supposedly they get the bigger crowds for the derby games than for, say, playing your overseas competition, whether it's from, you know, for New Zealanders, Australia, South Africa, for South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, sort of thing. So, you know, I suppose it'll only be time will tell whether there'll be an impact on that in terms of crowd numbers, or whether the product improves and therefore you still get more people coming along for a local derby, but that's a hell of a lot higher than what it is now.
Yeah.
And the number that come along for you know, playing a non-derby game is less than the derby game, but still more than what they're getting for a derby game now, which is actually dropping.
Well,
does that make sense?
Yeah. A lot of chops, a lot of changes. We tried conference systems where teams that finished 9th still made the finals, if you know what I mean. So
yeah,
that didn't work.
Well, we've still got that scenario happening now, right? With the team on 18 points is actually in second place. Team with 19 points, the same as the number one, is actually in 4th. So that's exactly the example that you're giving there.
What's the bonus point system at the minute? If you score 4 tries, you get a bonus.
You got to be three tries clear. 3 tries clear for the winning team to get a bonus point, and 7 points for or 7 points and less for a losing point.
See, they've tampered with that as well.
They did that. I think I'm not sure about that one. Tell you the truth, actually, you're right, because apart from trying for the losing team, apart from trying to stay within 7, if they're getting smashed, where's the incentive? Because they're not going to get within 7, but they could still get a 4 try
bonus point. Yeah.
So look, Alex, if you turned up on time, Alex, you'd know where the main man tonight is. He's away today. He's actually at an event for some networking stuff down in Rotorua, apparently. So that's where Paul is today. But he'll be back tomorrow night. So yes. That's round robin. We'll look forward to it, and hopefully we'll see improvements in how things are running. And
I suppose the interesting question: will Sunwolves survive 2020?
Well, that's some of the chat. It's just like, I mean, the chat now is that, I mean, like, if you're a player in the Sunwolves currently, and we've just talked about Hayden Parker, Michael Little, you know, and more. Somebody gives you an offer of a 3-year contract today. I would just say, look, Sunwolves, we've only got 1 more year to go. See ya. I'm out of here because I can get a 3-year contract. And it's just like, well, yeah. So, yeah, do you actually hang on to the Sunwolves for the 2020 season?
That's the thing. These guys, a lot of these guys will have to secure their future. There might be guys who have just picked up maybe a 1 or 2 year deal, and they're thinking maybe I look at other avenues. So what sort of team A are they going to put on the paddock in 2020, and how motivated
are they going to be? Absolutely.
Is that team going to be?
I think actually the key, the more important one is the motivation there. I think actually,
mind you, if there is motivation, that would just look, if they ended up making the playoffs.
Oh, that would make the sense. Yeah. Oops. Yeah, oops, they did it again. Anyway, yeah, actually, Alex is right. The another reason why conference system was actually introduced was to reduce the well, not necessarily the travel time, because you still got the distance to travel, but the time you're away. So you effectively, instead of being away for 4 weeks in South Africa for a New Zealand team, you're only away for 2 weeks, and vice versa for the South African team. Over here in New Zealand, they're only here for 2 weeks, and sort of thing. So they're away from home for less time.
It is kind of tough for the South African sides, because obviously they play those 2 games. And
well, my understanding is that the direction of travel makes a difference to your jet lag. I don't know. I've never done that sort of travel, so I don't know. I've just heard. Yeah.
There's an airline out there who's watching. We're quite happy to
let us know. Yeah, jump on.
Do some market research.
Again.
First class, though, doesn't it? First class or business class? Either
or. Well, give both, and then we can look at we can validate which option the Super Rugby team should go with. Yeah, we can do that for a fee.
I think they travel business class.
Yeah, they do actually. Yeah. Again, our Paul will be doing a Patreon special on his Patreon channel for his Patreon subscribers. On that one will be coming out on Thursday around Super Rugby going to Super 14 and the cutting of the conference system. So again, for those Patreon subscribers, you'll get that available to you on Thursday. If you're not a Patreon subscriber yet, why aren't you? Get in there for $1 a month. A little boy eats.
And a man.
And our final take out. That's it. The Blues. Again, we do Blues Auckland, us Blues fans, but Blues broke their hoodoo. Yeah. Broke the drought. Got the monkey off the back.
Oh, I did listen, and I actually thought the score flattered
the Highlanders.
Yeah. I really do. If you kind of look at some of the rugby the Blues actually pieced together and put together, they scored some they scored some outstanding tries. 2 of those tries, the individual try from Rico Ioane. The second try that he came off a break. But I'll tell you what, the try that I enjoyed the most.
What's the try that you enjoyed the most, Steve?
I actually enjoyed the final try because because they needed to score.
Yes,
they needed to score to take the game back, and to me there was a lot of patience. Everybody did their core roles, and listen, at the end of the day, the right guy had the ball with the final push towards the line.
And you go back last year and all the years before that, in that situation, there would have been a knock on going for the line, and so that was that. My son reminded me. He's only 7. He reminded me. I think I was the Blues were playing the Highlanders down in the Tupperware container down in Dunedin, and time was up, and basically the Highlanders are out on their feet. Patrick's going for the line, and he's a metre out. He's going to make it. He goes over the line, but without the ball, it's a knock-on, game over. And I threw the cushion at the TV. My son reminds me all the time about that. Dad, you going to throw a cushion at the TV?
It was just little things. Apparently, they have. I think there were some stats that came out that even in last year's game against the Highlanders, they actually even had more ball than they did this year. But it's what they actually did.
It's what they do with the ball. Because actually, going back to years previous, they've had many games where they've had 60% of the ball, but they haven't used it very well. And look, even on I think the positives out of the game on Friday night is that there's no guarantees, but you can still see improvement coming. There's still improvement to be made. They can still do better, and it's really obvious when you see it.
And I suppose the other thing we've got to remember, you look at that team on Saturday night, and there's still 3 or 4 guys there that are in their debut season. Obviously, we'll get to him in a moment. Tom Robinson.
Yep.
We've got to talk about him. But you sort of look at Plummer, even though he was a little bit up and down, he can only improve. And you look at the boy,
he'll get more consistent.
And you look at the boy Talia on the wing. We can see that he's strong. He's just got to get a little bit more street smart when it comes to
that's it.
Space.
Yeah, street smart.
You know, there was an opportunity for turnover ball. His first instinct, I have to do something. But he looked to his left, it shifted the ball. They had both Nono and Ioane on the outside. So it's just
and his hands.
Just absolute, just those
little things.
Little things.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know the great thing is that we've got the longest winning streak of any of the New Zealand sides at the moment. Yeah. We've got 2 games in a row that we've done. 2 games in a row. Highlanders obviously losing it. The Hurricanes having the draw, so Crusaders losing. So
listen,
Chiefs only winning 1 because they drew with the Hurricanes.
I was going to say, it wasn't all peaches and cream though, because a couple of work-ons that were pretty obvious to me. I think they put themselves under a lot of pressure once they've scored points.
They're going to get out.
Scored this
exit play.
Got the exit play.
Yeah.
It's got to be better.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, it's a little bit messy. Not getting the ground. You know, you look at some teams, they make it really, really simple. I'll tell you what, Aaron Smith in a losing team just put on an absolute masterclass.
Hey, so how about after last year when we're all saying, "Oh, damn, oh god," because I mean, let's face it, for the All Blacks, Aaron Smith's a big component. I mean, we know we got TJ as well, but the fact is that having TJ and Aaron Smith makes that All Blacks team so much stronger, right? And it's like last year, Aaron Smith wasn't Aaron Smith, was he? But this year, the way he's playing, whether he's on a losing team or not, he's definitely, you know, I think he's still holding a bit in the tank, but you can see it. He's got that spark back. What he was missing last year, it's there again this year. Yeah. And I think, as you state, even in a losing effort, there was things that Aaron Smith did.
He is hitting his straps at just the right time, as they say.
Yeah.
And he just the little things he does in and around scrum feeds.
Yep.
Just knows. He's just savvy.
Absolutely.
He really is. And probably the other thing I was probably thinking of, just in terms of they're going to come up against the Stormers side this before we get on to what game are you looking forward this weekend. It's probably not the game we're looking forward to the most, but we kind of are because we keep an eye on that team.
Yeah.
They're just going to have to negate that Stormers driving maul.
So, you know, well, one of the things you have to say, discipline wasn't too bad last week. They have to just take their discipline up a level. Because if you don't give away those penalties, they can't kick into the corners. You can't get the rolling maul happening.
No field position.
Yeah.
But, you know, speaking of this weekend, what game are you looking forward to this weekend? We know which game we're looking for.
We exactly. We're actually, again, obviously, we got the chance to have a discussion before the show starts. So, obviously, there's a few games on this week, but I think the biggest game of the weekend, it's the Canes versus the Crusaders at home. So, you know, that's I think Steve and I are on different sides of the fence for this one, actually. So we might actually.
Yeah, we are. And I just want to get a few thoughts from you guys as well. We're talking about the Crusaders Hurricanes game. It's obviously a home game for the Hurricanes. But who do you think is going to get the W this weekend? I actually think
you're going with the Canes.
I'm actually going with the Canes.
Yeah.
I mean to say, I know there's a lot of talk about their pep, but I still think they'll be hurting a little bit after they lost in Christchurch. Maybe a little bit of confidence might be sucked out of the Crusaders.
Yeah, look, I mean, for me, I've been one of the big sort of, you know, naysayers of if that's the right term, for the Canes pack, right? I just don't think that there's the grunt in the Hurricanes pack. And when you're coming up against the Crusaders side, that's just full of grunt. And that's the basis of their game.
Well, we worked it out that they were down to probably their third string props come the end of the game against the Waratahs on last Saturday gone. So that's an area where they always have it's sort of like their boys. Yeah, when they're in a tight contest, it's sometimes their go-to ticket that they will go back to their scrum. I actually thought the Hurricane scrum when Jeff Tumunga-Allen came on was just a little bit stronger.
Oh, look, you'd expect that. I mean, he is there. I'd say there's the premier, one of the premier props, Ben May and Tumunga Allen, being the two. So, but when you look at, they're not top shelf props, are they? They're good, honest toilet workers sort of thing. And then when you think about if you've got good, honest toilet workers as your starting props, it's only downhill from there. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm going to put it out there.
You're going with the Canes.
I'm actually going to go with the Canes. Listen, I called it last week, if you recall.
You did.
Waratahs Crusaders. Yep. I actually went for it, and I put my money where my mouth is. The TAB account is looking
a bit better.
Oh, way more healthier these days. I mean, it's like a few people thought I had rocks in my head, but I just thought they were there.
There'll be another $5 on the Canes this week.
That will be for the taker. Yeah, I am going to put another $5 on the Canes.
Yep. Well, I don't. I never got into the old TAB side of things, but I think the Crusaders will come in there. They've got the likes of Scott Barrett coming back. They've got Kieran Reid starting. Moanga will be back in there at first 5 against Barrett. So that's a great matchup there that we'll be looking at. Actually, in your favour, Barrett's starting to really start to lift his game as well. Along the lines of Aaron Smith, we just alluded to. So he's starting to lift his game then, and you're starting to see that backline work a little bit better with him there. But I think it's just like with those guys coming back in the forwards, Richie Moanga coming back as well. I think the Satyrs for me.
I don't think you can go away from that. I'll just I know we just focus on one game.
Yep,
that's for the weekend, but I'll just look at the rest of the game. Obviously,
well, the other one we talked about actually. I mean, like we're sort of out on time, but one of the other things we talked about was the Chiefs, Jaguares over there in Argentina, and it'll be interesting to see whether the Chiefs can sort of back up the performance against the Bulls. No Brody Retallick, and I believe Damien McKenzie on the All Blacks rest. So yeah, that's a big minus there for the Chiefs. So it's whether the other guys can take some confidence out of the massive win. That's like a massive win against the Bulls and back it up and come home against the Jaguares.
Well, I'm going for all the home teams: Hurricanes, Waratahs, Blues, Reds, Sharks. Sorry, except the very last game, I'm going to go Chiefs.
You're going to go Chiefs. Yeah. Look, I think if they're back on track, then they should be able to do it. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's sort of like a good place to leave it at. And thanks for coming in and having a watch and comments in the chat room. Don't forget to subscribe, and there's some bell that you press, and or go onto Patreon and subscribe to Patreon. Do all that sort of good stuff, and we'll see you tomorrow night. And Paul will be back, so we'll see you then.
Peace out.